4 women who ran snack bars across western Japan were murdered in 16 days. Each body was found behind a door, locked from the outside. Each bar's neon sign had been switched off, as if the night had simply ended early. The man who killed them had taken a life before, and Japan had opened the prison gates for him twice. That is the contradiction at the center of this case. A killer the state already knew, walking free, repeating what he had already done, while no one stopped him in time. Here is the detail you will not be able to shake. When Masakatsu Nishikawa killed his first victim in the summer of 1974, she did not scream, and she did not fight. The 26-year-old store owner lay on the floor where he told her to lie, and she kept smiling at him, trying to talk him down. That smile is what killed her. Nishikawa decided she was mocking him. He rolled her over and slashed the arteries in her neck 3 times with a kitchen knife. He was 18 years old. He took her wallet, 22,000 yen, and walked out. Police had him in custody 6 hours later. So what did Japan do with an 18-year-old who had just murdered a woman because she smiled? It gave him an irregular sentence of 5 to 10 years because the prosecutor believed he could be rehabilitated, and then it let him out on parole. 9 months after his release, he tried to rob an inn and threatened to kill again. Japan sent him back for 7 years, and on October 25th, 1991, it opened the gates a second time. 41 days later, he began to kill again. The question this case asks is not whether Nishikawa was dangerous. Everyone could see that. The question is why no one acted on what they could see. Nishikawa was born in 1956 in Tottori, the youngest of 5 children and the only son. His father was a day laborer who barely noticed him. His mother beat him, and his father beat his mother. He was bullied so badly at school that he stopped going. When he was in the 3rd grade, his mother, a diabetic who had been in and out of hospitals for years, died. He was 9. By 14, he was in a juvenile facility for theft. By the time he came out, his father had sold the family home. There was nothing left to go back to. This is the thread that runs through everything that follows. The people who studied the case came to describe Nishikawa as a man who spent his entire life searching for the image of the mother he lost at 9. Look at who he killed. His victims were all women of a certain age, 45, 51, 55, 55. Women who ran small bars, who poured drinks and listened to the men who came in and looked after them. Mother figures, in every sense. He killed them in 16 days. The first was Kumiko Masaki, 45, found dead in her bar in Himeji. Nishikawa suffocated her, then took 6,000 yen in cash, some gift certificates, and a handful of lottery tickets. He was so unhurried that the next afternoon he paid for a hotel room with the lottery tickets he had taken from a dead woman's bar. Her bag was found at Kinosaki Onsen Station. Her credit card was discarded from a train window. His fingerprints were on what he left behind. Here is how he worked, and it is the coldest part of the file. Nishikawa posed as a customer. He walked into a snack bar, ordered, and waited. When the room emptied and he was alone with the woman behind the counter, he locked the door. When each body was found, investigators noticed the same 2 details. The neon sign outside had been switched off. The door had been locked from the outside, so the place looked closed for the night. he was not covering his tracks. He was staging an ordinary evening, leaving each woman in a room made to look like nothing had happened, so that no one would come looking until it was too late. He was careful in ways that should have terrified anyone reading the reports. He rotated his clothes, a black jumper one day, a yellow one with a bright blue pattern the next, a purple one left in a coin locker at Matsui Station. He checked into hotels under the surnames of men he had met in prison. 2 days before the first killing, he leaned over the counter at a railway office near Himeji Station, told a clerk he was a terrible human being, and fled. It reads, in hindsight, like a warning no one knew how to hear. The murders were spread across 3 prefectures, Hyogo, Shimane, Kyoto, and at first, no one connected them. In Himeji, police suspected a friend of the first victim, theorizing the killing happened after a drinking binge. That theory was wrong. In those same weeks, Nishikawa was questioned by police for an unrelated robbery and cleared. He was moving through Japan killing women while the system that had released him twice was looking for someone else. By January 1992, he had reached Osaka, and he tried to strangle a woman named Hanae Katsura, leaving her barely alive. That attack finally broke the case open. Nishikawa was arrested on January 7th, 1992, by which point 4 women were dead and 2 more had been left injured. One of the injured was a man. Even his near misses were indiscriminate. At trial, Nishikawa pleaded guilty to a single murder, the Himeji killing, and denied the other 3, claiming he had been drunk, feeble-minded, and unaware of what he was doing. DNA ended the argument. Tests proved he was responsible for all of them. In 1995, he was sentenced to death. The Osaka High Court upheld it in 2001, and the presiding judge was blunt. Your crimes were cruel and callous, all based on a premeditated intent to murder defenseless women. Nishikawa spent 22 years on death row. He was still seeking a retrial when, on the morning of July 13, 2017, Japan hanged him at the Osaka detention house. He was 61, the state that had released him twice, once after he killed, once after he tried to kill again, closed the case the only way it had left. The pattern is the point. Nishikawa's stories is the system seeing a dangerous man clearly, twice, and releasing him anyway. The first prosecutor believed he could be rehabilitated and gave him a sentence built for someone who could be saved. The second sentence ran its course, and he walked out into the world again. Each release was followed by murder. Japan's answer, in the end, was not to change what happened before the killings. It was to execute the man it had already set free. There's one quieter fact buried in the file, and it is the thing that has kept this case from ever fully closing. The man who killed 4 mothers in 16 days was, by his own history, a child who lost his own mother at 9 and spent the rest of his life searching for her shape in the faces of middle-aged women who poured drinks in dim bars. That is not an excuse. Nothing here is, but it is the explanation that sits under everything else. A killer the state knew, walking free, killing the women who looked like the one person he could not forget. If this case stayed with you, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which detail hit you hardest. The locked doors, the switched off neon signs, or the sentence that let him out twice.